Good afternoon. I am Christina Felchlin, Director of Consulting Services with Ledgeview Partners. We'd like to welcome you to today's Dynamics 365 User Group webinar. In today's webinar, we're going to talk about integration. There are multiple Office 365 integrations with Dynamics, and today we're going to highlight the how-tos, setup, and benefits of SharePoint integration, OneDrive integration, and OneNote integration. We will then answer the pre-submitted questions and then let you know about our upcoming User Group webinar. To ensure the best audio quality for all attendees, we have everyone in listen-only mode. If you have a question, please submit it in the question pane of the GoToWebinar control panel. We do have a full 30 minutes planned for today, so if we don't get to your question, we will follow up offline or include it in an upcoming webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand in the next few days. All registered attendees will receive an email with an access link to the recording as well as a presentation slide. Now, to get to today's featured topic, I will turn it over to Michael Dodd, Support Consultant with Ledgeview Partners, as he dives deeper into integration with Dynamics 365. Michael?
Thank you, Christina, for that wonderful introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Hope the summer is treating you well so far, but let's jump into the content. First, we're going to talk about SharePoint integration. And SharePoint integration it's basically an integration with CRM Online and SharePoint Online. That's the most common and the easiest to configure, but you can do what's called a hybrid version, which is essentially one of them being on-premise and one of them being online, or completely on-premise SharePoint, on-premise CRM. But it's much more difficult to set up, and in fact, the hybrid with SharePoint on-premise is actually the most difficult to set up. So these are some points that I just want to make before we kind of jump into what SharePoint integration can do. What I'm going to be showing today is for online CRM and online SharePoint. So the functionality that you're seeing, the setup that you're seeing is really specific to that. But please note that it is possible for SharePoint integration to be done for a hybrid or completely on-premise. Now, SharePoint integration must be set up for OneDrive and OneNote integration to be functional. Now, what is SharePoint integration? It's essentially it's taking your documents and storing them out in SharePoint, but giving you access to them under specific records. So then naturally, the next question is, how do I set it up? How do I get access to this? And we're going to go through a demo. We're going to show you how to do this as well, but I want to touch on some points first. The first step that you're going to take in the SharePoint integration is the document management settings. And there you'll select your entities that are to be enabled, specify the site URL, so your SharePoint URL, and this is set up based on server-based integration. And if you're doing this on-premise, it's going to require some additional security setup, just because if the certain security is not set up, you're not going to be able to use server-based integration, and then the integration will not work. Regardless of if you're online or on-premise, you do need to grant read-write access in SharePoint for the users that are accessing. Once you set up the entities that you want, you're going to have the ability to set folder structure based on entity. And what's really cool about this is that, let's say you have an account and you do the set folder structure based on entity and you choose account. That means any records tied to that account are going to be set up as subfolders underneath, which is really a great feature. It also gives you the ability to auto-create folders. It's just simply a checkbox in there. And then a really cool feature that requires some code, but can be really, really useful, is the ability to automatically offload email attachments to SharePoint. Then the attachment that was on that email is simply replaced with a link to the attachment in SharePoint. That way it's not taking up as much storage, so it's a really great feature to manage your storage but not lose email attachments. So the benefits of SharePoint, why would I do this? What benefits do I have as a user or as an admin to set up SharePoint integration? What this does is it gives you the ability to store documents associated to specific records. So let's say you have, a sales contract that you've set up and you want to get that out you want to have that accessible from CRM, but you also have a SharePoint where you store a lot of these documents. You can actually store it within SharePoint, but have the record show on CRM. So it's basically you're able to access documents specific to records that are housed on SharePoint. Because of this, it does not adversely affect your CRM storage. It'll increase your SharePoint storage just because you're putting more information out there. But SharePoint storage is much, much cheaper than increasing your online CRM storage. So it gives you the best of both worlds. So you're able to use a document storage like SharePoint, but accessing it through the great features of CRM. You can also easily edit these SharePoint documents right from CRM. So if you simply click on the link to that document, open it up, make the edits, it's going to save it to SharePoint, and then it's going to reflect those changes in the document showing on CRM. So really what it's doing is it's doing everything that CRM is doing for you today, just now with documents. It's a one-stop shop, organized right there at your fingertips. You only have to go to one place to get what you need. So let's jump into CRM, and I'll show you how to set up the SharePoint integration, and then I'm going to demonstrate the SharePoint integration piece under the document section of a record, specifically in opportunities. So from CRM, we're going to go to the settings section and then document management. So within document management, we want to click on these document management settings. So once we open this up, these are all the entities that you can choose from for SharePoint integration. So you can select any of these if you want to check mark another one. So if I want to add case, I simply check mark case. Now the SharePoint site, this is just where you're specifying your URL for the SharePoint site that you have. Once you've done that, you click next. And during the initial setup, it'll verify that it's a valid URL that you gave. Once they determine that it is, you'll have these additional options. Do you want to select folder structure? And specifically based on an entity. So if I come here and I choose account, that means any entities related to a specific account will have their folders created under the account folder. And then I can choose, do I want folders to be automatically created on the SharePoint site? So then I simply check mark that box and click next. Then what it's going to do is it's going to make those changes, and it's also going to be checking to make sure that it sets up any additional things that I set up. And I apologize, there it goes. And then you just click OK. So it's creating a path. It could take several minutes. It really doesn't take that long. You just click OK. It's going to find the ones that you've already done. So 11 to be created. 1 was newly created, 10 already existed. And that's because all I did was add case. Once you're done, you simply click finish. Now you have SharePoint integration set up. So let's jump to an opportunity. So if I jump to the secondary order opportunity, in order to get to the document section, which is where the SharePoint documents are going to be held, I simply come in and I click on this little drop-down caret next to secondary order, so next to the opportunity name. Click here and I go to the documents portion. So click on documents. And then it's going to load all this information for me. And you can see here, it's showing me, okay, this is on the SharePoint site. I can upload from my files and have it go right to SharePoint. And if I'm uploading, let's say you had a document that you ended up taking off of SharePoint, you updated it, and you want to overwrite the existing file. When you replace it, simply make sure that the overwrite existing file is checked. Choose your file, click OK. You can create new records, new Word documents, Excel documents, PowerPoints, OneNote. All of those you can create as new right from here. And you can specify where you want to load it to. So if you do Word, name your document, and choose where you're going to house this document, and then click Save. Document locations, this is just simply saying, what am I going to reflect in this grid here? Only show me documents on the default site. Okay, so that's all the ones on SharePoint. Show only ones that are shared with me. No documents are shared with me. So that's where you would go to if you want to choose the different document locations or what you want to reflect. And then it can also show all files. Now, if you want to open a specific location, you go to Open Location, click on this Documents default site. It's going to take you out to the SharePoint, so LVP Webinar Team site. And it's going to take me to the opportunity, secondary order, and then it also has a sales contract right here. You can also add a location. This just simply means if you want to add a secondary location, it's not your default location, but it's the secondary SharePoint location or just a secondary location where you want to house additional documents. So that's all for SharePoint integration. Next, we're going to jump into OneDrive integration. Now, keep in mind, with OneDrive for Business integration, you have to have SharePoint integration already set up. So to do this, we're going to navigate to Settings, Document Management, and then simply enable OneDrive for Business. And when you click that, it's going to pull up this box. All you have to do is check the Enable OneDrive for Business, click OK. As long as SharePoint integration is set up and you have at least one team site, you're going to be able to set this up. Something to keep in mind, though, is you want to have permissions on the root SharePoint team site for any user that's using this integration. Like SharePoint, OneDrive integration is possible for hybrid and completely on-premise CRM and SharePoint. Just like SharePoint integration, however, it is much, much more difficult. Now, for SharePoint on-premise, you're going to want to enable the search service when you set this up. The reason for that is because with online, SharePoint Online, that's automatically set up. So you just want to enable this if you're on-premise. And OneDrive for Business, one thing that I just want to keep in mind for everyone is it's meant more for personal files that are being associated to a record in CRM. Because OneDrive is really where you're storing your personal documents, even your business documents, but your personal documents, you're just saving them out in OneDrive for Business. Then you can also configure folder settings, and simply all this is doing is it's naming your folder. So in the Configure Your OneDrive for Business experience, this is the portion that will pop up once you enable OneDrive for Business integration. There will be the section that says OneDrive for Business Folder Settings section. Click on that. It'll pop open this box right here for you. And you just simply, it's their Dynamics 360 folder / and then your name. So you're just choosing the folder where you want your CRM is going to store your personal files. How would you use OneDrive for Business? What's the benefits? How are you going to use it? In that same Documents Associated section that we were just in for SharePoint, you can upload files not just to SharePoint now. You can also upload them to OneDrive for Business and have them associated to that record within CRM. You can create new files, where I showed you that we created a new file and we can associate it to SharePoint. As long as you enable OneDrive for Business, you can put it right into OneDrive instead of SharePoint. And then you can display documents from SharePoint, OneDrive, files that are shared with you, or everything, all those files, all the different options. So what are the benefits of OneDrive for Business integration? You can view the files that are specific to that record that are saved out on OneDrive. So if you created a new record in CRM or you uploaded a file and put it to OneDrive through the document section, you're going to see that information, but it's housed out in OneDrive. You can upload the files to OneDrive, and you can easily edit OneDrive documents right from Dynamics 365. Simply click on it, open it up, make your edits, and then exit out when you're done, and it will save that information. It'll have the updated document sitting right there for you. You can open the record-specific folders just like you could for SharePoint integration right from the record. The whole point of document management and everything I go through today is making CRM a one-stop shop. Instead of having to jump out to OneDrive to grab a document, instead of having to jump out to SharePoint to grab a document, it's all right in the record for you. So it makes Dynamics 365 a one-stop organized shop because now you have all your documentation. Now let's just jump into CRM quick and I'll show you exactly how to set this up and what it looks like. So I'll show you what it looks like real quick just because I already have it enabled. So if you see right here, OneDrive, this is basically saying I created this new document and I put it to OneDrive. So if I open it up, so if I come in here and I click Edit Document, I can just edit right in the browser. And once it loads, I can just simply type hello everyone. And it's going to save. I'll close it out, jump right back in here, open it up one more time, and you see it was updated. So it updates information right in there. That's how easy it is to update a document, and it's reflected right back in CRM for you. You can open up the different document locations. So if you open the location for that one, simply click Open Location. There it is. There's the location out there on OneDrive. So if I uncheck this and I want to simply do Upload, I can choose my document and I can upload it to OneDrive. Same thing with a new document. I can choose to save it in OneDrive, in the OneDrive Dynamics 365 folder. So the next piece that we wanted to go over, and I apologize for jumping back, was just how to set this up. So to set this up, we go to Settings, and then we go to Document Management. So within Document Management, enable OneDrive for Business. Just simply come in here, click the button, check. This will then automatically show up, and that's where you name your folder. That's how easy it is to enable OneDrive for Business. Next, we're going to jump into OneNote integration. OneNote integration, OneNote's pretty new, relatively new, I mean, in terms of, versus Word and Excel. But OneNote integration is definitely one of the different integrations we're talking about. Is the newest. To set this up, you go to the same place we've been going to, Settings, Document Management, and then the OneNote integration. Some notes here. You want to have server-based SharePoint integration enabled between 365 and SharePoint Online instances for the specific entities you're enabling OneNote integration for. In addition to that, the activity feed wall, so that social pane, notes, activities, or the notes, activities, post section, you must have the OneNote integration enabled for that. So the activity feed wall has to be enabled, then it will add the OneNote integration to it because that's where that OneNote integration exists, is under that social pane. And then finally, with everything, SharePoint integration must be set up. You can then choose the entities you would like to enable for OneNote integration. By default, when you turn OneNote integration on, is account, leads, opportunities, and products. OneNote integration, however, is only supported for SharePoint Online. If you don't have SharePoint Online, unfortunately, you cannot use OneNote integration. And with Dynamics 365 being newer, OneNote integration is only supported on the online version of Dynamics 365. It is not quite there yet for the 365 on-premise. So how would you use OneNote integration? You simply want to navigate to any record, go to that social pane to the Post Activities Notes section. There will be a OneNote tab. Just click on the OneNote tab. If you haven't created a OneNote notebook before, the system will automatically create it for you. You cannot upload OneNote documents. You can only create the one from the record. Then you click on the OneNote notebook to open it. And if you have multiple folders for SharePoint, the OneNote notebook will be stored in the first folder. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And now that you have that notebook specific to this record, you have access to all the great features of OneNote Online. One thing to keep in mind about the OneNote Online, section groups are not supported in OneNote files for Dynamics 365. Now, before I jump in and show you the OneNote integration and then also the features of OneNote, I'm just going to go over some of the benefits. So some great benefits are it creates a unique notebook for each record in Dynamics 365. So you have a notebook for each record, each thing you're doing. You could have a page for each different phone call that you have for a customer if it's under an account. Or if for an opportunity, you have multiple calls with the customer, you can have notes for each date or each stage of that opportunity. So it really helps you organize. You can easily access those and edit those notebooks right from 365. And the notebook is stored in SharePoint. That's why the SharePoint integration is required. No need to search for your notebooks. It's all in 365. Everything's at your fingertips right in 365 or CRM, excuse me. You also now have the access to those great supported online features. So next we're going to do a demo of the OneNote Online capabilities and the integration. So let's jump into Dynamics 365. So from here, we simply go to OneNote Integration. We're in the document management section again. So OneNote Integration. Let's say I want to add the capabilities to Case. Just simply click on Case, click Finish. And then it will do everything that it needs to do, and it will close out. Now OneNote is in that social pane section for cases. So let's go to an opportunity. And we're going to go to our widget order. So we're going to open our widget order. And then we want to create a brand new notebook. So once this loads, we're going to go into the social pane section. And it's going to be the last tab, the one on the far right. I apologize, this is just taking a little bit of time. Let me just jump over to secondary order just because that one's we got into pretty quick last time. Let me just refresh my screen. With SharePoint integration, all these document management pieces that we're talking about today, they've come a long way, and they're helping people, especially with their storage, because a lot of people were putting in documents within notes and emails, and it was eating up their storage, and they were realizing that they really had to start buying more storage, or they were deleting note attachments. And so this is a really great way of taking that away from 365, putting it into SharePoint, but still giving you that same great access. And I apologize, it looks like my system has frozen. So let me come back in here. Let me get back into Dynamics 365 through my admin portal. Looks like it decided to completely kick me out again. I apologize. So I'll log back in here and get back into Dynamics 365. And then what we'll do is we'll do a demo of the OneNote capabilities and finish showing you what the OneNote integration looks like. So it's going to log me in here and get me to Dynamics 365. It's just bringing it up because it's the first time getting into it. All right, now that we're back in, we're going to go out to our secondary order, open up our opportunity, and then right here would be this OneNote section. So if I had never clicked this before, it would start loading the notebook and creating it. Now you see where it says created today at 9 o'clock a.m. So this morning I clicked in on OneNote and it created this document for me, or this OneNote notebook, excuse me. Now all I have to do is click on Untitled, and it will open this up. Now, there are two different ways to edit OneNote Online. You can do it right through OneNote Online, or you can open in Desktop. If you open in Desktop and you make the changes, they will be reflected within OneNote Online. There's just a few more features that you can take advantage of in the desktop version. So if you do open in Desktop, now you see it opens it up. We're going to have a few more features that we can take care of. And one of the really cool ones that we can do is audio. So if we click Insert and then click Audio, it's going to start recording everything that I'm saying right now. And then if I click Stop and I click Play, and so you can hear that it's recording all that information and it's putting it right into OneNote for you. And so that's a really nice feature if you're having a conversation with somebody and you're having a meeting and you want to record the conversations. If you're having an in-room meeting, you can put it right into OneNote. It's right there for you. Other things that you can insert, you can create a table right in the system. So you just click Table and simply going to start creating a table for you. You can insert a file. You can do it as an attachment, or you can do the printout of it in a PDF format, which is really nice. So if you have a Word document that you want to put all the information into the system, just do a PDF printout. It's going to put all that great information in there. Or if you want to save room, just do insert as attachment. You can also do pictures as well. So you can do online pictures or right from a camera. We can do a link. So if we simply type in an address, so if we put in Ledgeview Partners, we're just inserting a link right here. So those are different options that you can do. Stickers are something that you can put in. That's basically their way of kind of spicing it up, making it, a little bit more entertaining. And if you're connected out to your email, you can also insert meeting details as well. You can also draw shapes. You can actually do math equations, believe it or not. You can put math equations in here. Some of these things are not things that you're going to readily use, but they might come in handy at some point. So these are just the different capabilities that you have. And then you have different views. You can check the availability. This one, this immersive reader, I actually think is really cool. So if you take a lot of notes and you want to have it kind of read back to you, you can actually just click immersive reader and it will start reading the document back to you, which is really neat. You can also replay. This is where you simply choose a section and it will show you what you did to create that section. So it'll show kind of the steps that I took to create that section. And you can also add rule lines. So grid lines or rule lines, you can put that right in here. Change the page color, change your navigation panes. So if you only want to show the pages section, actually just show your pages. Really great thing about OneNote, one thing that I like to call it is it's essentially Word on steroids. And the reason I say that is because there's so many additional features that you can do instead of just writing things. You can put in the printouts. You can put in a table. You can put in pictures. And it's going to organize all this information. And again, it's connected right in the social pane, right within that record. There are so many great things that you can do. You can have a single page for each meeting that you have with a customer. You can put a timestamp of when you created it right here. So you have all that great information right within the system. And it's right here at your fingertips. So that's why OneNote is so powerful, and the integration is even more powerful because you're putting it within CRM. So it's all a one-stop shop. So if we jump back to our PowerPoint presentation, that's really all that we had for our integration pieces with SharePoint, OneDrive, and OneNote. Next, we're going to jump into some user-submitted questions. Our first question is, does Dynamics integrate with DocuWare? We've actually done a lot of integrations with, DocuSign and other various document ones. Unfortunately, DocuWare we have not worked with, and there are no out-of-the-box connectors that we're aware of. But what we would most likely do is build an integration, but we would want to set up a scoping call to discuss this a little bit further. Our next question is, when changing the owner of an account, how do you prevent all notes and dates being updated to the user who performed the change? Excellent question. The notes are done, it's basically done through cascading rules. And really to change this, you want to go to your customize the system within settings, find the one in question, so account, because you're going to want to find the relationship between account and notes. So you're going to click on the arrow next to entities, then next to account, and find the one-to-many relationship, and then find the one specific to notes. Then you want to open up the cascading rules at the very bottom, and then once you open that, the action of assign, change the rule to be cascade done. That way, it's not going to change the note ownership and make a change that's registered when you're changing the ownership of an account. Our last question of the day is, what role usually holds the security to create contacts? Excellent question, and actually any security role can have this simply by adding the create contact to the role. If you put it on user, that means when they create it, they have to be the owner of it. If you do it for the business unit, let's say I'm in the LVP webinar business unit. Any other user within my CRM organization that's in that business unit, I can create a contact for and have it assigned to them. And then the business unit, child business unit, simply what that means is if there are business units under LVP webinar and I'm in LVP webinar, I can change for everyone who owns a record that's in my business unit and all the child business units. And then the easiest one is organization for everyone in CRM. So all out of the box security roles have the ability to create contacts except activity feeds. That one's just very, very unique only to activity feeds.
All right. Thank you, Michael, for the great content. There were a few questions asked during the session, and Michael will follow up offline due to us being over time right now. And as always, we want to invite you to join us again next month, August 23rd. We will highlight chat capabilities with CafeX, typically used for service users. So we hope to see you there. On behalf of myself, Michael, and all of us at Ledgeview, we thank you for taking the time to attend our user group webinar today. We look forward to seeing you next month. Have a great one. Bye.